The Navy's C-2 Greyhound that crashed is a cargo plane that delivers passengers and supplies. This is the latest accident for the Navy's Japan-based 7th Fleet.
We are killing more of our own people in training than our enemies are in combat.
It is Thursday, November 23rd. A Fox News alert. The urgent search expanding overnight for 3 missing U.S. sailors. How the Navy is now ramping up its investigation into what caused that cargo plane to plummet into the Philippine Sea.
And in just hours, millions of people lining the streets of New York City for the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. What to expect as the NYPD really steps up security.
And how do you celebrate Thanksgiving from space? The feast fit for an astronaut. Fox and Friends First continues right now. Earth, Wind, and Fire on this Thanksgiving morning. You're taking a live look outside where people are out and about, getting those final touches complete for the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade here in New York City.
Yeah,
Looks pretty cool.
That is. It's a live look at probably about 75th and Central Park West, Upper West Side. The parade will start there in just a few hours, and it'll march south. It'll go right by Fox News and head all the way down to Macy's in Herald Square, where it'll end, as it has for a number of years. And there's the turkey, and there's the turkey expert taking your questions all morning long live here on Fox News. If you have any questions about how to cook this thing as we get closer to it, there you go.
Very cool. Good morning. Happy Thanksgiving. You're watching a special Thanksgiving edition of Fox and Friends First. I'm Jillian Mealy.
And I'm Rob Schmidt. Thanks for starting your day with us. If you are awake already, that means you're probably cooking.
Or still up from last night.
I hope not. And straight to a Fox News alert, and we do have some serious issues to get to this morning, even though it is a holiday. The frantic search for 3 missing sailors expanding after a Navy cargo plane plummeted into the Philippine Sea.
This just the latest tragedy involving our military aviation. Garrett Tenney is live in our nation's capital with the breaking details. Good morning, Garrett.
Well, Rob and Jillian, good morning to you. The U.S. Navy tells us that it is expanding its search for those 3 missing sailors and that the Japanese Navy is also now assisting in those efforts. The C-2 cargo plane took off Wednesday afternoon from Japan and crashed about 575 miles southeast of Okinawa in the Philippine Sea as it was heading to the aircraft carrier USS Ronald Reagan. Within an hour of the crash, U.S. Navy helicopters rescued 8 of the 11 sailors on board who are now in good condition. President Trump said on Twitter that he is monitoring the situation and offered his prayers for all that are involved. Defense officials tell us that early indications suggest an engine failure caused the crash. The C-2 Greyhound is one of the oldest planes in the Navy. The cargo plane typically delivers passengers and supplies to aircraft carriers at sea and has been in use since the late 1960s. It is scheduled to be replaced by the V-22 Osprey in the next few years. This latest crash, though, again highlights the ongoing issue our military is facing of aging equipment. Earlier this month, the head of naval aviation told Congress half of the Navy's 542 F-18 Super Hornets can't even fly.
Get those air wings ready, several hundred parts had to be cannibalized from other Super Hornets across the force, further decimating the readiness of squadrons and adding significantly and unnecessarily to the workload of our maintainers.
And a few months ago, Senator John McCain noted that in the last 3 years, fatal training accidents have taken the lives of 4 times more service members than our enemies have in combat. And this year already, the U.S. military has seen 22 crashes, which is 38% more compared to the same time a year ago. Robin, Jillian.
Garrett Tenney, live in Washington. Thank you and have a good Thanksgiving.
You as well.
In other news this morning, the hunt for answers about the brutal attack on the border intensifying. The patrol agent injured, now out of the hospital, but doesn't remember what happened. The FBI treating Officer Roger Martinez's death as a potential assault. Union reps with the National Border Patrol Council say Martinez and the injured agent were viciously attacked with rocks. The feds offering a $25,000 reward for anyone with information to help close this case. A sea of blue lining the streets to say their final goodbye to a fallen police officer gunned down in the line of duty. officers from as far away from Colorado and Rhode Island paying their respects during the funeral procession in New Kensington, Pennsylvania. 25-year-old rookie officer Brian Shaw shot and killed during a routine traffic stop. The accused cop killer, Ramel Salholt, arrested just outside Pittsburgh following a multi-day manhunt.
Well, John Conyers has no plans to resign despite his sexual misconduct controversy. This after the Democratic congressman's own hometown newspaper, the Detroit Free Press editorial board, called for him to bow out over allegedly using taxpayer money to settle sexual misconduct lawsuits, a story that is infuriating a lot of people. Some Democrats on Capitol Hill also joining in the chorus for Conyers to get out of Congress. And the Al Franken sexual harassment scandal just got a bit bigger. Two more women coming forward accusing the Minnesota senator of inappropriately touching them. This according to the Huffington Post, which reports the alleged groping happened nearly a decade ago while he was a Senate candidate when he was running for the position. Franken responding to the accusations saying, quote, "It's difficult to respond to anonymous accusers." Well, as the accusations continue to pile up against members of the Democratic establishment, Fox News political editor Chris Steyerwalt says the left needs to step up or stop talking about Roy Moore.
For these Democrats, if they don't get serious about Franken and about Conyers, they're not going to be in a position to say anything about Roy Moore. Mm-hmm. You know, you would think that the Republicans would be, you want to talk about, it's actually a pretty good encapsulation of how bad the Democrats have been at contending with Republicans. You have this total disaster of a Senate nominee in Alabama. I mean, the worst, that the Republican, it hits it wrong in so many ways for the Republican parties, this potential disaster. But because Democrats, for various reasons, are unwilling to address, or so far, have been unwilling to address Franken and unwilling to address Conyers in the right ways, what are they going to say? And that's exactly what President Trump is exploiting when he goes out and puts sort of a half of a bro hug on Roy Moore, like, well, if you can have Franken and you can have Conyers, then we can have Roy Moore.
The TSA cracking down on its security procedures over fears that a potential threat could slip through. This after a frightening investigation reveals agents failed 80% of undercover tests where fake bombs and guns were missed. This TSA training video showing an example of the dangers of an explosive briefcase or a laptop bomb. The new procedures change how agents look through items, mainly focusing on electronics, and is expected to result in longer wait times.
All right, 7 minutes after the hour now, and a live look right outside the building, 6th Avenue northbound. We're just hours from now, somewhere around 8, 9 o'clock in the morning. One of the largest and most anticipated outdoor holiday celebrations is set to begin. It will eventually move down past Fox News here.
You got that right. Millions expected to flood New York City, and the NYPD says it's ready for them. Adam Klotz is live at Central Park West, where the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade will be kicking off. Good morning, Adam.
Hey, good morning, guys. This is the 91st annual parade, but it's my first, and I'm excited to be here. What's one of the first things I see right over my shoulder? Olaf stands at 60 feet tall, making him the tallest of the 17 character floats. The other thing you notice, and you can't help but notice out here, is the police presence. It has been incredibly strong just everywhere you turn. Actually, now out in front of Olaf, we've got a line of police as well. There's counterterrorism units going to be lined up and down the street. This is no surprise following the terrorist attack that happened on Halloween, so it's top of mind. Security is top of mind for absolutely everyone, including the New York City Mayor, Bill de Blasio. Here's what he had to say.
And I want to emphasize, it's very important for everyone to understand, there is no credible and specific threat against New York City at this moment. There is no credible and specific threat against the parade. We have lots and lots of precautions in place nonetheless.
The other thing New York City citizens are going to notice when they step outside this morning, way colder than it was yesterday. Temperatures have fallen down to around 29 degrees as a feels-like temperature right now. But when we get into the heart of the parade, we'll take a look at some of the graphics. We're looking at temperatures going to be into the middle 30s, winds 5 to 10 miles an hour. So that won't be too bad for the floats marching up and down the street. If you're somewhere else in the country, well, there's a good chance you're dealing with just some fantastic weather, because the cold air that's funneled in, it's in the Great Lakes, it's in the northeast. But the rest of the country, look at some of those temperatures, the 70s, and the desert southwest getting up closer to 90 degrees. So a lot of folks have something to be thankful for weather-wise. I'm thankful to be at the 91st parade, guys. Excited, looking forward to it.
And we're thankful you're out there and not us. Just kidding, Adam.
No,
Just kidding.
It's actually pretty cool to be out there with the floats and stuff. That's an awesome experience. Adam, thanks so much.
Very cool. All right, so imagine seeing this while waiting in line for Black Friday outside a mall.
Clean thumbs. What are you doing? What are you guys doing?
I don't think they're going to respond. A trio of bears just couldn't wait to get their paws on some deals. California deputies saying the furry perps were trying to rummage through some trash cans, but they were able to scare them away.
Yeah, you don't want to be attacked by a bear on Black Friday.
No, that's not on the list of things to do.
That's a weird story you'll never get away from. All right, 10 minutes after the hour now. First it was Comey, then Putin, then even Fox News and Barack Obama.
Pressures from outside forces because of the reality TV candidate. There has been a concerted effort starting with the creation of the Fox network.
I ruined this tease, by the way, but you'll never guess who Hillary Clinton is blaming for her election loss now. I just gave you a big hint.
And do you know how to carve that bird about to be on your table? Don't worry, we are about to show you a master butcher. And Carly Shimkus joining us live next.
But first, we want to know what you are thankful for here on Thanksgiving. Send us your photos. We'll air some of them tomorrow morning on the day after Thanksgiving.
Hey, did you know it's Thanksgiving? We are about to show you how to carve a turkey like a pro.
That's right. Here to show us how it's done, Master Butcher Ray Venezia. He is also the Meat and Seafood Director for Village Supermarkets and the author of The Everyday Meat Guide.
You got to say it like Italian, like Venezia.
Yeah. Because you're Italian, we know that you know what to do with food, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Part of the job description.
All right.
I'm a third-generation butcher besides.
Are you really?
Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Break it down for us. Where do you start?
Okay, very important. Let your turkey rest. Never forget that.
Okay.
15,
Can't have a
20
tired
minutes
turkey.
so that it's not piping hot and you want the meat to absorb back the juices. Then you're going to start, you're going to take this one section of the wing off. In the middle is where the joint is. You just want to get that out of your way.
Okay.
So it's open, you're going to put that on your platter.
Let's turn him a little bit so people can see what we're doing because we're going to see.
Or do it on the other side if you can.
Yeah, there you go. Perfect. Either way.
There we go.
Beautiful.
All right, so we
Start with the wing.
We took that piece of wing off so it's out of our way. We leave the other piece on so the turkey doesn't totally tip over.
Yeah.
Okay? Then you're going to take the leg off first so the breast continues to cool. And just where it meets the body, you're just taking your knife. When you're doing this with the knife, you only need a knife that big and you're only using the top inch of the knife.
Okay,
you're not using the whole thing. With your hand lightly, you're going to give it a little pressure. You don't want to do too much, you'll rip the meat. And with the point, you're just going to fuzz it opens. As it opens, we'll see to the body. That's where you cut through and you take the leg right off.
Look at that leg.
When you take the leg off, in the V shape of it in the middle is where that's connected. And you're just going to come through and you're going to take that off and then you're going to get your drumstick off.
Okay.
Then there's a bone in here. It goes from this end to this end. So you're just taking the point of the knife, you're just going to go along the bone so you can see it. Then you're going to do the other side.
It's like fascinating to me.
Okay, so now it opens up. When it opens up, then you can just grab the knob of it and you're just going to scrape down and roll it with your hand as you do it.
Wait, what part is that?
This is the thigh.
Okay, this is the thigh we're working on.
Okay, and then the thigh bone comes out.
Got it.
And I mean, that just breaks apart.
Then you have your thigh meat. And again, the bigger pieces you're going to want to slice. Always pull the skin out of the way. Even if you want the skin, you're better off to strip it down and put it on the platter because it will dull your knife.
I like to eat.
How do you handle the body? What do you do with this?
Okay. Now,
I don't know the correct terminology.
With the breast, you want to take it off in one whole piece because that's the only way you can cut it against the grain, which is what makes it tender. Again, I say about skin back so that you don't dull your knife. And then when you do that, you get a better look too, and you can see the bone runs right in the middle. So you're going to take the point of the knife right along the bone and just follow it as it goes. Now this bone curves, it's going to pull a little bit, and you want to be able to make sure it's cool enough that you can use your hand. You don't want to pierce it with a fork where more of the flavor just runs out of it as you're doing it. Okay, then you're just going to come around.
Oh, yeah.
Again, just pulling lightly.
That's the white meat there.
That's right. Yeah, take it off.
Carly, it's a little early for that kind of talk, isn't it?
Yeah.
Now, most important with this is to cut it against the grain.
Okay.
Okay?
Why?
You can see, because we can't bite through meat. We don't have chewing teeth, we have mashing teeth. So when you cut it against the grain, you shorten the meat fiber, so when we mash down, it comes right apart, and that's what makes it seem so tender.
That is fascinating.
I'm pretty sure I can bite through meat.
So now you can see, when you have the skin off, you can see the way the lines of the meat run. So against the grain is exactly that. You're going to go against those lines, and you're going to hold it with this hand, and you're going to slice.
Wow.
The other important thing about this, don't think about the sandwiches when you're doing the main meal. You cut it so thin, it'll dry in the air. You want to be 1/8 of an inch to 1/4 of an inch, so the meat has something to hold those natural juices in, so when you bite down, that's what you get.
Right. Did you guys take notes?
I think I've got it. It's all in there now. I've always wondered about this.
And then, like I said, you see the slice. It stays nice and juicy that way, and because you do against the grain, you see it'll come right apart when you bite down on it.
All right.
Look at how good that turkey
We've
looks.
got to go for
Fantastic.
now. Rob's going to continue to just stare at this.
I'm going to eat this entire thing during the commercial.
But you guys are going to do a carve-off later in the show. You versus me.
Me versus Carly.
For the record, I'm a vegetarian, and the producers this entire segment in my ear were saying, "Look at your face. Are you okay?" I'm okay.
How are you? You're doing okay?
I'm good.
It does smell good, right?
But I'm going to judge the carve-off later in the show.
She will judge the carve-off.
Thank you.
Amazing. Thanks, Ray.
Thank you, Ray, very much.
That was very informative.
All right, 19 minutes after the hour, shocking new details about a Baltimore police officer killed in cold blood. The plot really thickens here. The testimony that he was scheduled to give just 1 day after his killing.
And we're still talking turkeys. Keep sending your questions. Our Butterball expert will be answering them live at the bottom of the hour. Don't go anywhere.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Oh, right back at you.
It's very cool, isn't it? So what does Thanksgiving look like from space? Astronauts on the International Space Station giving a sneak peek this Thanksgiving.
Got some mashed potatoes are always good for Thanksgiving. Joe's, I think, got some turkey.
Gotta have some turkey.
Paolo's cornbread dressing. And Sabo's got the candied yams. And so these are all things that remind us a little bit of home.
Very cool. All 6 crew members on board, including 3 Americans, say they plan to video chat their families today. That's great.
I'm going to be missing Mom's cooking, though. I've been eating out of those bags, yeah.
All right, so first it was James Comey. Add Vladimir Putin, Joe Biden, and Steve Bannon to the list. And don't forget about the leaks in Russia, too.
You'll never guess who Hillary Clinton is now blaming for her election loss. Her former boss, Barack Obama.
Uh-oh. Carly Shimkus with Fox News Headlines 24/7. Sirius XM 115 is here with the reaction. What's this about, Carly?
So Hillary Clinton hopped on board that excuse train once again, this time saying her inability to run on an agenda of change made things more difficult for her. Take a listen.
When you run to succeed a 2-term president of your own party, you have a historical headwind blowing against you.
All right, let's get to some reaction. Dora says she is running out of excuses, but that won't stop her. And Maine Coon 51 tweets, nope, Hillary needs to face the fact that it was her. So there you have it. She did blame President Obama in her book, too, saying that he told her to lay off Bernie Sanders, and she considered that bad advice. So nothing really new.
Nothing
I think she blamed you last week, Carly.
Did she?
Did you hear that?
Oh, my
Carly
gosh.
Shimkus. She messed the whole thing up.
It was all my fault.
Way to go.
For all the Trump supporters out there, you're welcome.
All right, so Mike Huckabee's got jokes?
That's right, yeah. Don't trust Mike Huckabee with your turkey. Take a look at this tweet. He says, uh-oh, you see the turkey the president pardoned at the White House? Well, the press secretary asked me to take care of it, and I may have misunderstood. A lot of people like this on social media. One Twitter user says, love the sense of humor. Have a wonderful Thanksgiving. And another tweet says, I love me some Huckabee and family. Have a happy Thanksgiving. Jokes aside, that turkey is headed to Virginia to live out a long life, I'm sure. Unless he wasn't joking, and then it's on a plate somewhere in Arkansas.
The turkey in the oven was dramatically smaller than the one
That's true. I know.
Not the same one.
Yeah.
All right, Carly, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
It is 25 minutes after the hour. Security stronger than ever. New York City on lockdown as millions pack in for the Thanksgiving Day parade. Is it possible to keep everyone safe? A terror expert is joining us.
Plus, want to avoid the beef on this Thanksgiving? Avoid politics.
The only topic that mixes really well today are mashed potatoes and gravy.
Tips to keep the peace at your Thanksgiving table this afternoon and evening. We promise you'll be thankful for those coming up.
But first, a live look outside the Macy's Day Parade route. Don't go anywhere. Fox and Friends First is coming right back.
Rockefeller Center, one of the most key New York locations in the city, and a place where a lot of people are going to be watching this parade, the annual Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, that millions will watch today live, and security is tighter than ever.
They've been putting up those pedestrian gates for days now at this point. And the NYPD ramping up their efforts after the deadly terror attack on a bike path in downtown Manhattan. Here now to discuss is national security and military analyst Dr. Rebecca Grant. Thank you for joining us, and happy Thanksgiving to you.
Good morning. Happy Thanksgiving to you both.
So is New York City and other big cities across the country, but since we're specifically talking about this Thanksgiving Day Parade, is New York City ready?
Absolutely, they're ready. But let me give you a little background on why. You know, ISIS has lost so much territory in Iraq and Syria that their strategy now is to try to carry out worldwide attacks. And we've seen them actually in over 20 countries, you know, London and, of course, most recently up in New York. So the number one counter-terror strategy is to harden the target. That means police presence, the sand trucks that we've heard about, and making it very, very difficult for a would-be terrorist to try to pull off an attack.
Yeah, well, as they get more and more eviscerated in those places, Syria and Iraq, there's a lot of talk that that's what ISIS will become, just online morphing people into their, people to do their dirty work for them in other places, hit the soft targets. You remember 2 summers ago in Nice when the truck plowed through on Bastille Day, killing almost 90 people. That was a big game changer for ISIS, too. And now we've seen reaction to that here in New York, where we barricade the streets to stop the car attack. That seems to be the future for ISIS. That's what they can probably do the best at this point, right?
Well, that's right, Robin. You made a couple of good points there. One is the online piece. So they use the internet to try to recruit and control. And then they use the internet also to try to publicize these attacks. So their standard tactics kind of fall into 2 categories. One is the vehicle attacks like we saw in Nice, in Germany, and of course then in New York too. The other one is very different. It's the small scale, typically a knife attack. Of course there was a hatchet attack in Queens in 2014. There was an attack on a mall in Minnesota in 2016. But what they really need is surprise. And surprise is one thing that any would-be ISIS attacker is not going to have in New York today. The New York Police Department is absolutely on top of this, and they've been carrying out enhanced security now for several years for the parade. I think the scariest thing in this parade is going to be the Grinch balloon, but we need to have, but like the New York Police Department says, there's going to be a cop on every street. That's a great way to harden the target and, of course, to provide that vigilance and surveillance so that we can't let this ISIS psychological warfare affect us here on Thanksgiving Day.
Dr. Grant, what can people do themselves to stay protected, and what should they look out for?
2 things. Have a plan. Keep your eyes open. And New York says they'll have a cop on every corner. They're outside your building right now, right? So if you see something, say something. But most of all, carry on. New Yorkers are gritty and resilient. All Americans are gritty and resilient. So the number one thing is to carry on. Keep your eyes open, of course. Have a plan, but go about your day. Go to the parade. Go to church. Do whatever you're doing on Thanksgiving.
Okay. Yeah. Dr. Rebecca Grant, thank you.
Yeah, we walked to work today, and I saw a lot of cops out there already canvassing the area and trying to keep us safe. Doctor, thanks so much. A bombshell discovery in the search for a cop killer in Baltimore this morning. Police say homicide detective Sean Suter was shot and killed with his own gun during a struggle with a man who is still on the run this morning, a man who is unknown at this point. The killing happened just 1 day before Suter was set to testify in a federal case. Does that have something to do with this? We don't know. That case involves several indicted police officers as well. A GoFundMe page has been set up, raising over $45,000 so far to support that officer's wife and his 5 children.
The two airlines whose planes were used in the 9/11 terror attacks will pay millions of dollars 16 years later. American and United Airlines reaching a $95 million settlement with the developer of the World Trade Center over alleged lapses in the airline security that led to the attacks that killed more than 3,000 Americans. The settlement does not assign direct blame to either airline. Want to know if you fell for Russian propaganda? Facebook's got you covered. The social media site will let people see if they liked pages backed by the Kremlin-linked internet research agency, specifically leading up to the 2016 presidential election. The new tool, which will roll out in the next few months, is part of Facebook's broad effort to stop mistrust.
Well, you might want to leave your political opinions at the door before sitting down for Thanksgiving dinner.
A new study by the Associated Press suggests 1 in 3 Americans dread political talk at Thanksgiving. So earlier we talked to etiquette expert Lisa Mirza-Gratz about the best way to avoid awkward conversations.
If you have any guests today that are going to veer off topic, it's okay. You just need to acknowledge it and bring them back to the center to keep the peace. I mean, it's certainly okay for anyone to have an opinion, but as long as an argument doesn't ensue.
The survey also reveals women are more likely than men to try and avoid those conversations.
Guys need to get smarter about that. Don't talk politics at the table. Just don't do it.
It is 35 minutes after the hour. All eyes on the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, but the fun is already getting started on New York's Upper West Side. We'll take you there live coming up.
Plus, today is all about giving thanks, and Pastor Robert Jeffress says we should be giving thanks every day, though. Here's his holiday message to America. It's coming up next.
And not sure what you're doing deep frying that bird? We are talking turkeys, answering your last-minute questions. Our Butterball expert is live with everything you need to know.
All right, today is a day dedicated to being thankful, so how can we take that message and carry it over into our daily lives?
Pastor of First Baptist Church, Dallas, Robert Jeffress, is here with a Thanksgiving message that every family should hear. Good morning and happy Thanksgiving to you.
Thank you, and to you as well.
So how important is it for families to take the time today as they're sitting down to eat to just be thankful for one another?
Well, it's crucial to do today and every day. God meant for Thanksgiving to be more than just a once-a-year turkey fest. It's to be a way of life. And you know, studies have shown that people who regularly express gratitude to God and others for the good things in their lives enjoy a healthier outlook on life than those who don't. I think we have to admit that doesn't come naturally. All of us can go negative very quickly. And that's why I'm encouraging people to engage in what I call the gratitude challenge to develop their gratitude muscles. And it's very simple. I'd encourage our viewers to make a list of 3 things for which you're grateful, good things in your life, and express gratitude to God once a day for those 3 things. Do that for 30 days and see if your outlook on life doesn't improve dramatically. In fact, to help people do that, we've developed the gratitude card to list those 3 things on, and we're making it available free of charge to all of our viewers today, simply by going to ptv.org.
Well, Pastor, it's a great message, and we really appreciate it. But last hour, you actually said something that struck me, and that was the amount of negative energy, negative news in the world right now. It's a very tough time, I think, to be alive. It's just there's a lot of scary things in the world right now. You say this will help.
That's right. You know, expressing gratitude is a great antidote to worry. The Bible says, be anxious for nothing, but with everything in prayer and thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God. And, you know, just offering thanks to God for the good things in your life can make anxiety and worry dissipate. I mean, we all are facing, you know, whether it's earthquakes, terrorist threats, potential conflict with North Korea, there are a lot of negative things to concentrate on. But when we thank God for the good things in our life, it makes those things go away. And so, again, it's a powerful antidote to worry to concentrate on the good things God has done for you.
All right, Pastor Robert Jeffress, thank you so much for joining us. And, you know, I guess it wouldn't hurt if you don't have this card. Just, you know, get out a pen, piece of paper, write down what you're...
Write it down. Thank you, sir, and happy Thanksgiving.
To you, too. Thank you.
All right. Now, let's go to a very excited, very special guest to see what's coming up on Fox and Friends. Happy Thanksgiving, Griff.
Hey.
Good morning. Happy Thanksgiving. We have such a huge show coming up, and it's fun being here in New York with you. We've, of course, got the parade, but we've got Bass Pro Shops. They're here with turkey tips. You need that. Brian Kilmeade needs that. And we've also got the Jenkins family. My wife and 2 daughters are here. We were out checking out the balloons being blown up. It's going to be exciting. 17 balloons. It's the 91st parade of Macy's. I know you guys have talked about it, but what you don't know is my first Thanksgiving ended up with fire trucks. And that's all I'm going to let you know. Stay tuned.
Oh, no.
I can't wait to hear that. And the family loving that you're filling in today because they get to watch the parade.
Exactly. They're going to have a lot of fun, guys. Happy Thanksgiving.
That's awesome.
Thanks,
Happy
Griff.
Thanksgiving. See you in a little bit. I emailed him yesterday. I'm like, are you here tomorrow? He's like, I am.
Yeah, that's great. All right, thanks, Griff. We'll be right back.